In October 2001, everyone was still pissed off about 9/11. Everyone. Except for Sarah Bacardi. You see, Sarah had graduated high school in June, and she was taking a much-needed gap year to decide how she wanted to spend the rest of her life. She could go into lipstick studies or be a biochemical engineer like her buddy Mariah. The world was truly her oyster, but like all oysters, everything was about to go splat. Shortly before September 11th, Sarah made friends with a hippie kid named Trent, and he introduced her to smoking weed. Trent was like the MacGyver of weed. He could make a bong out of a water bottle, and he had the kind of weed that made you see bright strobing lights and hear wailing sirens. Sarah and Trent bonded over tripping sack in the back of Trent's Toyota Corolla, and eventually, Sarah realized she was in love with Trent. He had a certain way about him. His mouth formed a square when he laughed, and when he exhaled hot white smoke, he would make this sound, "Gah." And Trent loved Sarah, no matter what she looked like, whether she was hot, pretty, gorgeous, or cute. Which brings us to the night of October 4th. Trent picked up Sarah, and they were hanging out in the Walmart parking lot, taking hot, stinky bong rips when he popped the question. "Do you want to hike the Pacific Crest Trail with me?" Trent asked. No doy," Sarah said, and crossed her eyes. They spent the rest of the night spitting tar into bottles and throwing them at mailboxes. Splat! It was bonus points if the mailbox got stained. Fast forward to the morning of October 21st. Trent again picked up Sarah, and they were both prepared to not see home for 5 months. They were beginning the Pacific Crest Trail. The trail ran from the border of Mexico up into central Washington state. Neither of them had ever hiked before, but it would probably be easy because they would be baked the whole time. And everybody, even gym teachers, know being high makes exercise easier. That's actually backed up by science. So they had scientific backing. Back then, there were no iPads, which meant no Google Maps. They had to rely on Trent's sense of direction, Trent's compass, and Trent's maps to guide them. And as last resort, they could just follow the trail markings. They weren't planning on it. See, Trent's sense of direction was state-of-the-art. He could figure out what direction a sound was coming from just by listening to it. Plus, he knew all kinds of things about birds, which could probably be helpful at some point. And so they set out from the border of Mexico. Trent planned on shrooming for most of the journey, because he wanted to learn how to connect with people better. So he actually didn't remember most of that first day. They didn't cover much ground, and ended up camping less than a mile from their starting point. But that was okay with Sarah. She was in no rush. She was taking a gap year. A gap year meant finding out what kind of things you like to do so you can pick a job to do for the rest of your life and be happy about the job instead of being a poor sport and getting pissed off like people were about. 9/11. A gap year also means doing a bunch of substances, 'cause it's funny, and it makes your skin feel sharp. Sarah woke up on the morning of the 22nd, feeling refreshed and ready to cover more ground than day one. Trent was still coming down. She asked about his trip, and he said nothing even happened. But Sarah was suspicious of that, because their tent had significant signs of damage, as if someone had punched it repeatedly overnight. They waked and baked, and set out to walk more of the trail. By nightfall, they had covered a total of 1 mile, so 2 miles total. A mile a day is not bad, but the Pacific Crest Trail spans a whopping 616 miles. So at their pace, they would be done in a year and a half, as opposed to the standard 5 months. But that's what a gap year was all about, right? Taking it slow and figuring out what kind of crap you want to do when the squares drag you into the workforce. So far, Sarah had no ideas about what she wanted to do other than walk around with Trent, and she was accomplishing that now. So why rush? They were in their tent, shivering, because neither knew how to start a fire. I mean, they had lighters, but they were saving the fluid for obvious reasons. But they didn't pack sleeping bags because they felt no need to contribute to the plastic issue with pseudoplastics. So they were shivering, trying to sleep, when they heard footsteps outside their tent. Big footsteps, as if a big person was walking around making footsteps. But this trail was infested with squirrels and stuff, so it was probably a congregation of squirrels. No need to worry. At least, that's what Sarah told herself. It was sometime around 4 or 3, when the punching started. Twap, twap, twap. The sound of fists on nylon jolted Trent and Sarah awake. Yes, it was clear to see, even in the dark of night, someone or something was punching the fuck out of their tent. Go away. Stop doing that. Sarah screamed, but Trent's hand covered her mouth. What are you doing? He whispered. They want us to get mad. You're making them happier. Watch this. And then Trent raised his voice. That's so awesome. We love that. And just like that, the punching stopped. Then the sound of heavy footsteps, the same as earlier, but this time retreating. They fell back asleep almost instantly. The next morning, there were definitive footprints circling their camp. Big footprints. Footprints bigger than any human, except for Shaq. Sarah tried to voice her concerns to Trent, but he just told her, "You're trippin'," which was code for "stop bringing up that topic." And so they waked and baked and continued on their way. They saw no squirrels on the 23rd. They did see a pigeon, though, so that was cool. By this point, Sarah was getting extremely hungry. The last time they had eaten was Wendy's before the hike. Wendy's provided energy and stamina, but it was finally wearing off. "Trent," Sarah said finally, "can we eat something?" "I didn't bring any food," said Trent. "Remember we agreed to hunt for our food. Don't you remember this discussion?" Sarah did remember, but when faced with reality, well, it was easier said than done. They had seen no cows or chickens on their hike. Sure, they were only 2.2 miles out of 600, but Sarah would need food before they go any further. Come on, Sarah. That was the whole point of this. We wanted to learn how to fend for ourselves when the world ends. And it's probably ending soon. I mean, Bush is probably going to do the Iraq War in a couple years. And who knows what kind of nukes will fly then. Trent had a point, but Sarah didn't want to admit it. The hunger was making her feel defiant and anxious, and the antics of the previous night had sent her over the edge. She felt followed, like they were being hunted. "Fine," she said. "If you want us to hunt and gather our own food, then you go first. Go find a mammal or rodent for us to eat. I'm starving." "But you had a Baconator," he began. But upon seeing the look on her face, he decided it would be best to just go find some food. "Okay, just wait here. I'll be right back." Trent walked directly into the woods. He wasn't sure what to look for. He had never hunted before. Was she expecting a 5-star meal? They didn't even know how to make a fire, so they'd have to cook whatever squirrel he finds with a lighter. And he got dizzy around blood anyway, so she'd have to be the one to skin it. Who cares? At least they'd have some food. And luck have it, Trent spotted a turtle. Perfect. He'd never eaten a turtle before, which meant it was probably rare. His plan was to smash the turtle and pick out the meat. He grabbed a large rock and hoisted it over his head, when a voice spoke from right behind him. "Hey, Skinny," said Bigfoot. Trent whipped around. Bigfoot was standing there with his fist cocked. Hi, Bigfoot," Trent said, before Bigfoot punched him so hard his ears popped. "No, not like this." "Bigfoot, stop," Trent pleaded, and he tried to bolt. But Bigfoot was on top of him, punching him like an MMA fighter. "Bam, bam, bam," Bigfoot said with each punch. And when Trent was no longer moving, Bigfoot stood up and unleashed his thing. He urinated on Trent's limp body to mark his territory and tromped away into the trees. Hours later, Sarah worked up the courage to follow Trent's path into the woods, where she found his body. "Oh my God, Trent, are you okay? Are you dead?" "Ow, what just happened?" Trent said, getting up. "Bigfoot just beat the hell out of me." "Trent, I think we should go home," Sarah said. "Yeah, we can go home," Trent said. They started walking back. It wasn't hard because it was only 2 miles. Thanks for watching the video.